Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. This, my friends, is our coffeehouse in the cloud, a place where we invite amazing mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them, what it can mean for you. We'll be practicing together and then giving you a chance to let us know what's on your mind. I'm John Roberts, and today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, which just so happens to be Pretend to be a Time Traveler Day. Or so says the web comic artist Aaron Diaz. Wired magazine reported on Pretend to be a Time Traveler Day in 2007, writing, quote, "The whole idea is to pretend for the day that you are a traveler from a different time, except, of course, you can't actually tell people because they'll think you're crazy," end quote. And so Aaron Diaz, the inventor of this holiday, suggests a few of the following strategies. Dress in moderately anachronistic clothing and speak in slang from varying decades. Show extreme ignorance in how to operate regular technology. Stare at newspaper headlines while looking astonished. Or shave your head, draw a barcode on the back of your neck, and then stagger around staring at the sky as though you've never seen it before. This pseudo-holiday actually belies a truth described in mindfulness practice, that our minds are in a state of traveling through time every day of the year, not to mention nearly every moment of every day, constantly getting themselves entangled in memories of the past or daydreams of the future, oftentimes at the detriment of our more pressing present moment experiences. Anyone who's been severely lost in thought or worry or rumination will know it can feel a little bit like your time machine has broken down and you're trapped far, far from the present. So while it may be fun to pretend to be a time traveler today, I, for one, will be leaning on my mindfulness practice in hopes of being a little bit less of a time traveler tomorrow. And with me to help us get on the right track is someone I am always delighted to go through time with. She's a professional certified coach. She's the founder of Choice Coaching and Consulting. She's a certified mindfulness instructor through the International Mindfulness Teachers Association. She is Jackie Johnson. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, John, and good morning, everyone. And yeah, I think we're all having those temptations to time travel sometimes lately.
Yes, to a pre-pandemic past or a post-pandemic future, perhaps. Well, speaking of which, Jackie, during this holiday season, I've been asking our guest instructors to reflect on the traditions or people or events which they've been especially missing, but also to comment on the traditions, people, or events which have arisen in their place, perhaps in quite unexpected and gratifying ways. So if I could begin by asking you, what have you been missing this holiday season, but what new joys or opportunities have arrived in their stead?
Yeah, well, I clearly the main thing I've been missing is time to be together with my kids. So that's been pretty huge. And then, interestingly, I guess the things that come to mind that are pleasant surprises are that I have a kind of a roster of new walking buddies, because that seems to be the way that I get together with folks to walk at a distance these days. So feel like I have lots of walking buddies, and also just the inspiration of seeing people doing things in really new and creative ways.
Do you think you'll continue with those walking relationships once this has passed or faded?
Yeah, definitely so. And I think that out of this comes some new friends who it will be nice to actually sit down together in a room with too.
Yes, I've been joking that there's a lot of people I feel like I've never seen them beneath their, above this level. So, so all right, folks. So let's take a look at what lies ahead here. In just a moment, Jackie will be leading us in a 10-minute guided meditation. Then we'll move into some Q&A, which is where we would especially love to have your help. So please take a moment to open up the chat box visible at the bottom of your screen. Use that chat box to send along any thoughts or questions you may have at any time. But Jackie, as a way to get our fingers engines running, is there anything you'd like to ask our viewers to comment on as we're getting started here?
Yeah, thank you, John. You know, I've been thinking a lot about, and I'll touch on today, the benefits of practice, of this practice in our lives, in the day to day. So I'd love to invite people to share when and how do you bring mindful moments into your day?
All right, so a few words for the folks at home about the ways that you bring mindful moments into your day while folks are taking a moment to type. Please do know how grateful we are to you for lending us these precious moments out of your day. Whether this is your first time joining us or your 30th, we value your presence and participation. Now, keep in mind, only Jackie and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and appreciate all of them. And at the end of today's program, which will close at right around 9 a.m., I will mention some other ways that you can keep in touch with us as well. Okay, so let's see here. People are asking, saying, okay, so okay, someone says they have an app on their that has chair yoga on it, and they can activate it using Alexa. Just saying, Alexa, do chair yoga. I don't think I have mine on. And that will give them a few minutes to do this. Somebody says, I've learned to take deep breaths in and slow count those breaths out. It's a great, very simple, very effective technique. Someone says even 3 to 5 minutes of meditation is helpful to them. Somebody actually asks, do we have a playlist to go with our guided meditations? That's a great thing for us to think about. So let me, I'm going to put a pin in that. In the meantime, you can always go to soundcloud.com where you can make a playlist of our guided meditations. Someone says that they're feeling less tossed about by events in the world of late, feeling more gratitude and joy more deeply. Someone says when they're feeling scattered, rushed, hurried, they take note of their body, they breathe, see where their mind is, try to slow it all down. Lots of deep breaths. Someone says, when I notice myself rushing, try to get to a slower pace. Yeah, so similar theme here. But overall, when triggered, I find this practice incredibly valuable. Trying not to react, but to respond. All right, Jackie, that's a wonderful, I think, list of ideas there.
Wow.
So I think that you're actually going to be talking about this a bit more. And this is reminding me that when I had Kel Juilliard here in the coffee house last Thursday, we were talking a bit about what it means to surf the ups and downs, not only of one's mindfulness practice, but just of life in general. And this seems to be a season, if not an age, in which the ups seem uppier and the downs seem downier than at any point, at least that I can remember. Sometimes it does seem possible to put things in perspective and repeat, this too shall pass. But at other times, at least for me, it feels like just surviving this era, this day, this moment. So I'm wondering if you as we're leading into the guided meditation this morning, I wonder if you might offer some reflections on how mindfulness can serve us in those times when we feel like we're just barely holding on.
Yeah, thank you, John. And yes, the ups for me lately have seemed uppier and the downs for sure downier. And I think especially with the holiday season and a lot of references to the dark winter ahead that sort of amp things up. So during the Thanksgiving holiday, my daughter and son-in-law got sick with COVID, and thankfully they're well now. My mom is also in lockdown at the moment because of an outbreak in her independent living facility. And I just got through about a vertigo. And, you know, some days it seems like the small annoyances are the ones that end up feeling like too much to bear. And, you know, I recognize as I'm sharing this that I'm also somebody who's well resourced and that there's real privilege in that. And I'm guessing that everybody who's with us today probably has their own stories of the challenges that they're facing. And right now, this is all taking place in this broader context of kind of a collective trauma of this time. So I've sure been noticing a whole lot of restlessness, of agitation, sometimes more impatience than normal, and really finding myself so grateful for this practice and the ability to take it off the cushion, so to speak, or out of the chair and into daily life. And similar to some of the things that I've been seeing and that you read from the chat box, it's sometimes just that ability to take a breath or two or three, to settle during the day, and honestly to do that many times during the day. I know we've also talked about other informal or brief practices like RAIN, or like STOP, which stands for stop, take a breath, observe what is happening, and then pause or proceed. So there are a whole lot of ways to sort of informally bring the practice into the day. Sometimes I just find that it's helpful to put my hand on my heart and just some words like, wow, this is a tough moment, can be really settling. A walk and feeling the feet on the ground. I've been taking a lot of midday walks and feeling the breeze, feeling the sun on my face on a sunny day makes a huge difference. Sometimes just having a meal quietly and really mindfully and tasting and smelling the food, which actually was something that my daughter and son-in-law could not do when they were sick. They were really struck by that impact on smell and taste. So it's just a real gift, I think, to be able to come into the present moment. And I'll just share, John, because you sort of alluded to this, the mind wandering. And I believe that some other instructors have talked on previous coffee houses about a study that was done out of Harvard about 10 years ago by Killingsworth and Gilbert, that found that most of us spend upwards of 50% of our time mind wandering, either ruminating about events of the past or worrying about an imagined future that may or may not come to pass. And the upshot was that this mind wandering leads to unhappiness. And being present typically makes our circumstances much more manageable. And it's also, as we interact with other people, one of the most meaningful ways that we can show love and interest and care for others. So it's through the formal practice that we build the muscle and build this ability to bring the brief mindful moments into the day. So
That's beautiful. And I guess I'm really connecting with this idea of so many big things are happening. And yet I think you said this, Jack, and I think this is true for myself and other people, that, and yet it's the little things, it's like, we might be dealing with this and this and this, but then like we spill our coffee and somehow that's the thing that like pushes us over the edge. And I think that is precisely the reason why it is so important to train our attention, because those small things are the things that can kind of, really, push us. And so then to be attuned to even those small changes in mood and attitude, and just being ready to sit with them and manage them as best as we can.
yes.
Well, so I think that's a fantastic lead, and let's do some meditation. If you don't mind.
Okay, great. So I just want to invite everybody, as you're settling in, to just check in with your body and see if there's any movement right now that would be helpful, a stretch, particularly if you've already been sitting for a while this morning, to see what would be helpful and feel good right now. And then settle into the posture that feels right for you in this moment. And that may well be sitting. If you've already been sitting and it would feel good to stand, feel free to stand. And to just begin to settle in, allowing the eyes to close if that feels right, or casting the gaze softly downward, just to minimize distraction. No need to be focused on the screen in this moment. And maybe taking a couple of deeper than normal breaths. And if you're feeling any particular agitation or restlessness or stress this morning, really intentionally lengthening and focusing on the exhalation to just help settle the nervous system. And feeling the feet on the floor, feeling the weight of the body supported by your seat or by the ground beneath you, by the earth, really feeling the weight fully supported. And just allowing the body to settle into a posture that supports wakefulness, but especially supports a sense of ease in this moment. And bringing the awareness to sound. No need to go chasing after any sounds. Simply allowing the attention to rest on the experience of hearing. You may notice sounds outside, sounds in the room, the sound of my voice. And there may be moments where you notice an absence of sound, a sense of quiet. So just allowing the attention for a few moments to rest in the direct experience of hearing. And then shifting the attention to awareness of the body as a whole, sitting and breathing. Noticing the natural arising of breath, and then noticing the body in the sensations of the exhalation. And seeing if there's a particular place where the breath is most prominent for you, perhaps at the nostrils, in the chest, around the heart space, in the belly. Just allowing the attention to settle, to rest on that experience of breathing in and breathing out, with no need to change the breath in any way. Just allowing the breath to happen in a natural way and allowing the attention to rest in this experience, the direct experience. So not thinking about the breath, but really feeling the sensations of each in-breath and the out-breath. And whenever the mind wanders, simply and very gently bringing it back with kindness and compassion. This isn't a problem. Each time we notice that the mind drifts away, this is the moment of mindfulness and the opportunity to relate differently and kindly. seeing if you can notice just one in-breath and one out-breath. And again, each time you get lost in thought, that's just what the mind does. And simply and gently coming back to the breath. And if it's helpful at any point, you can very gently and quietly just note breathing in. You might note in, and breathing out, note out. Or rising and falling. And as we bring the practice to a close, taking your time to slowly allow the eyes to open if they've been closed, and take a moment to just look around the room, to just sort of gently bring the attention back to the space before returning to the screen as you're ready. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay. Okay. All right. So, folks, I want to make sure that everyone feels encouraged to ask Jackie any questions you may have using the chat box while you gather your thoughts and unleash your fingers accordingly. Allow me to ask Jackie one or two questions of my own. So, Jackie, when it comes to facing difficult challenges in my own life, I find the coping mechanism I go to most often is to conceptualize the challenge, placing it in as large a context as I can, which means essentially looking at it from like every possible angle, including practically, but also historically and philosophically and spiritually, which can be useful. But once I start down that road, it can be hard to get unstuck from being in my own head. Can you talk a little bit about how one knows when it's the right time to leave the head, how they should do it, and what they will find once they do?
Yeah, I love that question, John. And most of us, going to the head is sort of a default, and our brains are wired to protect us. And so sometimes they'll really do so relentlessly, just seeking out any sense of threat and danger. And so there's this sort of natural tendency to be scanning and to sort of be replaying and searching. And so sometimes it is that simple way in which we can just drop drop down and just really feel the attention. I think of it almost like when you think about the ocean and the waves and the churning that's happening on the surface of the ocean. And yet, if we can just drop down a little bit, it's calm, it's peaceful, no matter how tumultuous things are on the surface. So I think it's similar, that there's this way in which when we can drop into the body with breath sensation or the feeling of the feet on the floor or the hands in the lap, that there is this kind of way to tap into some calm and a different kind of wisdom.
Yeah, I think that's a great I think it's a key point for me to fix on, is the idea that it's the wisdom doesn't all live up here. There's wisdom throughout, and it's just maybe different kinds, and that we just need to figure out which is the right wisdom for this moment. Sometimes it might be head wisdom, sometimes it might be heart wisdom or lung wisdom, as it were.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of questions coming up.
Oh yeah, I know. So let me just see what we got here. Some simple ones. Somebody asked, "Will these sessions be recorded?" Yes, they will be. I will mention this as well later. But all the recorded sessions, every session since March 27th is up on YouTube. YouTube.com/MindtheMoment.
I love, John, how I'm seeing people mentioning other sort of nourishing activities that they're bringing into their days: painting, doing puzzles, stepping outside to breathe in fresh air, several mentions of music being therapeutic.
Very good. Yes, indeed. Thank you, everyone, for sharing everything. So somebody also asks, this is interesting question, because I think there's actually two elements to this. Somebody asked, what is the training for a meditation leader? And so there's one way to look at this question. And actually, that is a way I'm going to look. So next Tuesday, Suzanne Rowe Palacino, Jack, Suzanne will be with us. And Suzanne actually went through a rather rigorous training program for mindfulness teachers that I've always wanted to ask her about. And so I think I will make sure to do so. But there's also another element to this, which is the idea of being a meditative or a mindful leader. And Jackie, you are a leadership coach. So this is a great question for you. And I know we have just a couple minutes. So I feel like I want to ask you if you can give me a flyover view of what qualities would you look for in a mindful leader? And in a broad sense, at least, how should one try to cultivate those qualities as a leader?
That's a big question, John, and could definitely be a conversation for a full session. And I think we're off to a good start with what we're doing here with this practice, because it's really about learning to be more present in the moment with full awareness. And with that, we're cultivating this ability to self-regulate in a way that enables us and supports us in aligning with our highest values, so that we can be more discerning and more intentional in our leadership, in our relationships, how we interact with others.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you for
does that touch on it?
I mean, it's like that was a heroic attempt to successful and heroic attempt to answer a very complicated question, especially since we are working our way towards the end. Well, actually, come to think of it, yes. Next up, Tara Healy. That's on this Thursday, December 10th, 8:30 a.m. And we are back here every Tuesday and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. If you have any questions for our experts, in the meantime, please email them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org. Now, if you are looking for a quick and easy way to add the links to these sessions to your iCal or Outlook calendar, we are one step ahead of you. You can do that at harvardpilgrim.org/livingwellatHome. And while you're there, bask in the hearty glow of the many other Free live and virtual wellness sessions which Harvard Pilgrim offers the public. Those include yoga classes, Zumba classes, and a veritable deluge of health and wellness webinars. Now, all of us face moments of pain in our lives. How we deal with pain can make a huge difference in the quality of our lives. We'd love to have you check out the free resources around mindfulness and pain management, which we're offering through a partnership with our friends at Mindful Magazine. We have them in English. We have them in Spanish. That's mindful.org/pain. Join us on Facebook to see what we do when we're not doing this. That's facebook.com/mindthemoment. Our guided meditation MP3s will hopefully be music to your ears, featuring many of our great guest instructors. Those are available at soundcloud.com/mindthemoment. And as mentioned, you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and interviews which we conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. A closing word, if I may, from the closest verified thing to a time traveler we've seen in my lifetime, the late David Bowie, who remarked, "The truth is, of course, that there is no journey. We are arriving and departing all at the same time," end quote. Though maybe it's those simultaneous arrivals and departures which compose the journey. Food for thought. In any case, a closing question for you, Jackie, one which is by now worn and familiar, I'm sure. If you had a theme song for your mindfulness practice this week, what would it be?
You know, John, it's funny. I love to notice how songs find me rather than, the other way around, and the way that a song sometimes gets stuck in the head or keeps popping up on my playlist. And so the one that's been popping up and I keep finding myself singing in the last few days is "A Change Is Gonna Come." And yeah.
Gosh, is that Curtis Mayfield?
Well, I was listening to the version by Otis Redding, but I think it's really written by Sam Cooke.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good. Yes. Somebody verifies. Otis Redding. Yes. Right. Fantastic. I think I may go this week with "Time in a Bottle" by Jim Croce. Thank you, Jackie, for your guidance. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Great to be with you. Thanks, John.
Of course. We hope to see you all on Thursday. Until then, please do have a momentous day.